All right. The time ran out.
Nasty ones in there, man. That's nasty.
You just have to say pass. That's all you have to do. Oh, I got 10 questions with
from you. Right. Well, anyway, I've got some for you. So. So I'm definitely. There's a few questionable ones here, but I'm not. You're definitely getting them. You're definitely getting them now.
I did not get even to some of the good questions. I almost want to try this again. So full disclosure, Steve Guppy and I play a new game for the podcast called Crosses with Rev, and I thought that we would have done much better, but I was laughing so hard after this first attempt, we actually had to have another go, and you will get to hear Steve and I play this little game against each other. Hello, everyone. This is Rev Brad, and you're listening to the Soccer Chaplains United podcast from the Touchline. This week is part 2 of a recorded interview with Steve Guppy. Steve is the assistant coach for Nashville SC, and for me, we have such a special friendship from his time here in Colorado and the years that have followed since. And I'm grateful that he's been able to share his story last week and more this week. I hope you enjoyed today's show as much as I did. Just want to take a minute to ask, if you're enjoying the podcast, would you share it with someone? Maybe someone in soccer that you know, could be an athlete, a coach, or someone in the industry. And if you could take a moment and give us a rating and write a review, that would mean a lot to us. Well, thanks for listening today, and stay tuned because Steve and I get out wide on the wings again right after this.
He's found the space, and he's found the back of the net.
Just a little off foot, thinking he's going to go far post. Not strong enough with his right hand.
Whips that one in. Far post, almost made him ends, and they have. He has the hat-trick. The second in his career. The third of the night. The hat-trick hero.
Talked about you're not going to be able to sustain that kind of pressure.
To the corner. Goes towards the near post. And you're the angle, and what a goal! What a goal!
Well, Steve, you and I have chatted from time to time about faith. And one of the things I try and do on the podcast is really try and connect faith into football. So I want to take a moment and read a few verses from the Bible, and then I want to relate it back into football here a bit. So are you game for this?
You carry on, mate.
Yeah. So in Isaiah, book in the Old Testament, chapter 40, verses 29 through 31, the prophet Isaiah is speaking, and he's asking people, hey, do you really know who God is? And he gives them some reminders. They're going through a difficult time, a difficult season. And so he gives these descriptions of God as a source of comfort in the midst of these hard times they're facing. And so we come to these words in verse 29 through 31, and he says this: He, God, gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. So, Steve, I've often read this text and I've thought, man, what footballer wouldn't want to have that sort of tireless endurance? You know, like you watch some of these football matches that go deep into extra time, and you start to see which athletes are really fit to go kind of past that 90-minute mark. And I've often thought, man, the imagery here is used is that of having sort of the endurance of an eagle. I didn't know this until just a few years ago, but the eagle doesn't endlessly flap its wings and pump its wings to sort of soar and stay high. No, instead the eagle kind of wisely, instinctively utilizes the wind and the air drafts and air currents to gain altitude and to soar, and then to swoop in for, the kill, to swoop in for hunting and feeding and just kind of having that eagle eye vision and being above its domain. So I was just doing a little research today and looking at that some eagles can remain airborne from like 4 to 6 hours on average. It just kind of depends on the currents of the wind and stuff. So it got me thinking, talking about this text. Steve, have you ever encountered a player, maybe it was a teammate, someone you've coached, and they seem to have something, we hear that song, The Wind Beneath Your Wings, but they had this internal peace to them that seemed to be maybe a source of tireless energy or resilience, maybe someone who was a person of faith, or they seemed to have this internal motivation or drive that led them to do and be almost superhuman, or have this extra bit of strength or gas in the tank to go through things. Have you ever encountered someone like that? Does anyone come to your mind that you've played against or you played with, or you've coached, and they just seem to have something extra in the tank that wasn't necessarily physical?
I mean, listen. I think I haven't come or played or worked with a player who has done that week in, week out. But I can think of maybe 2 moments throughout, maybe as a coach, where the players have raised to a sort of level that is probably above them, and soared like an eagle for a short period of time. And I think maybe we could all take a reference to that within our lives, no matter whatever we do in life, whether it's sport or not. You know, those moments when you're really, all the stars align and you're super confident, and you know, you raise your game no matter what it is, and you soar like that eagle. It's a nice way of putting it. You know, the first time, I guess, was down to you, Brad, as you know, the MLS Cup final. You know, when we're underdogs going into a game, and you know there was a few things that happened that sort of rocked the team, and we needed that moment to re-galvanise everyone. And you stood up and gave your speech to the players at that evening meal the night before the MLS Cup final, that just brought everyone together and offered that opportunity for the players to overachieve the following day. And it was that moment, those little moments within your life, you go, that was a moment there. If you'd not have done that speech, Brad, would we have been able to, you know, achieve our, you know, that come up, you know, raise your game, you know, soar like an eagle, like you say? Could we have done that? I don't know. So, you know, players, you know, I think that's what we strive to do as coaches. You know, players obviously have to find it from within, but sometimes if you press that right button, you can sometimes, you know, get that, you know, that moment where they come, you know, they play above themselves, and great things are achieved. But of course, it's very difficult to sustain that. So that would be, you know, one of the moments. And another one I experienced was when I was working for the Republic of Ireland recently, and we were striving to get to the Euros, and we were on our knees, to be honest, you know, qualify for the European Championships. And we had to beat Germany, and then we had to beat Bosnia to qualify for the Euros, which really, Republic of Ireland, you know, you'd think there was no chance. There was no chance to do it. But we did. We did. And the players who were, you know, a lot of them were squad players in the Premiership, Championship players, playing against the world champions. We beat Germany 1-0. And then we went to Bosnia, and you know, where they got Dzeko and Panic, who were playing in the top leagues, you know, top players, and we beat them. And that was those moments that you just gave reference to, where the lads in each team, each different moments, different reasons why, but they soared like that eagle just for a short period of time. And it was okay, I wasn't playing, but it was fantastic, you know. And I didn't really have anything to do with their achievements, but it was lovely to be part of it and to witness it. And I hope that they always remember that moment, because they overachieved for that short period of time and got the rewards for it.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. I'm just curious, you know, when you saw your father, when your eyes met and you made that sort of connection, did you feel like just even that in that national team game against Belgium, did that give you an extra lift, or did it give you something that maybe you wouldn't have had you not met his gaze, or maybe had he not been in the stand? Did you feel like that gave you something extra?
Well, I think it was more at that point. It was just a reckoning, really, that we you know, it was, listen, we've come a long way from not kicking a ball for 2 years. In those 2 years, he was on at me to come on, get back going again. And I was like, but the times when I wasn't playing well, and the crowd be on my back, for a parent to have to sit there and experience it, it's horrible. And then obviously as things start to move forward from becoming a professional footballer, signing for Leicester City, and then to make it all the way. I wouldn't say it helped me in that game because it was there was a lot of pressure on. I was ready. I was tuned in, but it was just that little moment of we did it together, and then that was the reason of sharing that with you, really.
Yeah. So Steve, I imagine wing players, because to kind of get into this now, because of they're up and down, right? They're back and forward on the pitch. Would you say that as a footballer, the wing player typically has to really manage their own pace, their energy and fitness throughout the course of a match? Are they just positionally? Are they having to manage that more so than other players?
Oh, I don't know. I think every position comes with its demands. The midfield is doing a similar role, just more centrally. I think you need to be very fit to play the role, and if you're not, then you won't, play it to the standard that's required. So there's loads of things that go into, that scenario before the game even kicks off. Like what you eat. There's no like, oh, I really fancy, some fast food or something like that. That would be something that I would be like, okay, well, what day is it? It's a Monday. Okay, I haven't got a game till Saturday. Okay, maybe I'm allowed. But at Wednesday onwards, Thursday, no. There's so many sacrifices that you have to make to be able to sustain that standard, and that's something that people maybe don't see and don't appreciate. That there's a lot going on, and then when you fall into those traps, you eat poorly and you don't sleep well, drink well. Then your performances tail off, and then it shows on the pitch. So there's a lot that goes into it, but I wouldn't say that it's something that you manage during the game, because you should already have that level. You go full bore and hope that you last 90 minutes.
But there are times too, right, when you're not running always full bore, right? Like you've got to discern those things as a footballer, right? And I think even again, just back to this verse, I kind of take some encouragement that for me, life doesn't always I don't have to run full tilt all the time. Sometimes there's a time that I'm walking. Sometimes there's a time when I'm jogging, right? Like I vary the pace of my life so that I don't crash out and burn all the time. And I just, sometimes I've come across certain footballers who seem to take, the young ones especially, they take this full bore, like, I remember this guy in Colorado who he wouldn't stop training, like every day. I have to get better. I have to get in first team. I have to get first team football. And so the training session would be done and he'd be out doing more sprints, or he'd be out in the stadium ground doing the stairs. And I told him, I said, look, if you don't stop, if you don't take rest, if you don't slow down, you're just going to burn out. You're going to injure yourself. You're going to be super fatigued. And sure enough, like 2 weeks later, he takes a little injury, and I told him, hey bro, just chill. Your chance, your opportunity will come. And if you're a hard worker, I think the coaching staff is going to see that, and it's okay. You don't have to go full bore. But do you see that in young players? Do they sometimes get misguided to one side or the other? Is that something you kind of have to coach around?
Well, it's an interesting subject. I think it's so difficult, but I think players today don't work hard enough always at their own position. They do the training and then they go home, where sometimes there is room for working on your own game. Because just think, you get back to taking a player on. I think it's very, very difficult to create, and so for me, creators, forward-thinking players need to work harder than the rest of the team. at their own game, because it's a lonely old place out on that wing when you receive a ball, when you've got a defender bearing down on you and you're expected to beat him. Because there's a horrible feeling when the defender strips you of it and starts running up the other way and you're pedaling back and the crowd are moaning. And, so to me, I'd liked it and I've experienced it too many times. And it's to me, that was what drove me on during the week. I did go out most afternoons and cross balls, and I probably did overtrain on occasions, no doubt. But at the same time, I just wanted to go into every weekend, and this is something that I try and pass through to the players now, is that if you can step on that pitch just before a game starts, and if you're a winger, you look at the fullback you're playing against and you go, do you know what? I know I've worked harder than him. I know I've practiced harder than him. I'm prepared. I'm ready. To me, you've already gained an advantage before the whistle's even blown.
Sure.
And that's, and confidence, as you know, Brad, in life is such a wonderful thing, but it's such a fragile thing. So if you can do the extra work to make sure you're ready, then, your confidence is there, and that's just one part of the story. Of course it is, but I get your point. You can overtrain, and then it comes down to when you're training. Thing they call like deep practice. I could go out and cross loads of balls, say, when I was a player, but if I'm not thinking about it, I'm just doing it. And when I cross a bad one in, I get angry. Then I'm not really improving. But if I went out and did 20 crosses, but in those 20 crosses, every mistake I made, I stopped and thought, what was it? What did I lean back? What was my stride pattern? Did I not follow through when I kicked the ball? Now you're learning. And that's deep practice. And I think they're the ones, perfect practice. They're the ones where you are actually thinking about what you're doing. And when you can get a young player to think as well as do the extra practice, then you're right in what you say. You don't have to do as much, but the improvements will go through the roof if they genuinely, rather than let frustration get the better of them, they're actually thinking about what they're doing and how they're doing it. Then I think you can really get some great results.
Yeah. No, that's a brilliant point, Steve, too, because just even back to the beginning of that, the player that I had referenced was a player from another country. He had kind of come to the club through different means and ends. And so he had a very strong work ethic, and that has changed. That's a generational thing, I think, too, with younger athletes today, right? There's so many more distractions. There's so many more things that kind of tempt them to, just lax off or not work quite as hard. It's different today, right? That's a generational thing. So, but Steve, you've been managing now, coaching football for the last 10 years or so. You've mentioned a couple of the places where you've done that, Rapids, Republic of Ireland. What are some, and now you're at Nashville SC, but what are some of the highlights, if you could briefly, just what is it going and sitting, being in that chair now, rather than in the playing chair? What are some of those things for you that you enjoy most about being a manager, helping with Gary Smith and helping in the different areas where you've helped? Share with us some of that, your highlights, maybe some of the challenges.
Well, it's nice. The story with me and Gary is that when I was at Wycombe Wanderers, all back in that time, 1989, playing in the reserves, as we were fighting our way to get into the first team, this lad turned up, played centre midfield, and he was completely different to me, where he liked tackling and heading and I didn't. And it was Gary. And the first game, I'd been there 6 months, a year already, and he came in on his debut, which normally you're quiet, and within 5 minutes he was moaning at me for not doing this, not doing that. And he's been
and nothing has changed
since,
right? Yeah.
So we go way back, and for whatever reason, I put up with his moaning. And, we've been on holiday together every year for years and years, and now we work together. And so, when you have that sort of relationship, you really want to make sure it works. So you really try desperately hard to give it everything you got. And one thing I do, Brad, is any player, especially a forward-thinking player, if I'm going to be working with, I will always sit them down when we sign them or when I first come to the club, and and tell them exactly what I would try and offer to help. And all I ever ask them is to meet me halfway. Just meet me halfway. If I'm all in. I'll tell you what I want. I want you to get better. I want you to try and become as good as you can be. I don't care how old you are, or just how good can you be. Let's find out. And to do that, all you need to do is meet me halfway. And sadly, not all do. But when you do get the one or two, or when they do, they meet you halfway and they get committed, dedicated, and they practice and become better. When you do get them odd moments, the odd time when the sun shines and you get an extra cross or an extra goal that maybe you wouldn't have got if you hadn't done the work, then to me that's absolutely fantastic, and that's why I'm in it for.
So, real quick, highlight from your managing time. Give us the highlight. What's the key top moment that you've experienced?
Well, I mean, I've already said about the winning the MLS Cup with Colorado was so exciting. It was to win something at any level is fantastic. But the MLS and to win it in the way we did. We played so well through the season, no DPs. It was a really against the odds effort, and it was an absolutely amazing experience. And then the other one I mentioned about when Ireland got to the Euros, we qualified for Euros, beating Germany and Bosnia, and then we were there. And the European Championships, like a World Cup or a major tournament, is something I'd always wanted to be involved in. And so I experienced that. It was in France. We were based in Paris, and there was one night where it boiled down to we had to try and get out of our group to qualify for the next round, and it boiled down to, would you believe it, we had to beat Italy to qualify for the next round. And obviously Italy, a massive powerhouse, and we had one of those eagle moments again. We soared for whatever reason. The players just came above themselves. And we scored with 10 minutes to go. We beat Italy 1-0, qualified for the next round. It's the only time, Brad, when I've been in a dressing room where everyone is crying. Players, staff, because it's obviously fantastic to do well for your team, for your area. When we won it at Colorado, for Denver, it was amazing. We felt like we achieved something. But to represent your country, these boys do. I'm English, of course, but these Irish boys, to qualify and for their country, it was just lovely to see the pure joy. And for those moments, some of those boys were on massive money, don't forget. But for those moments, money can't come close to touching it. And it was lovely to be part of that.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, Steve, now we're going to come to a new feature of the podcast. I'm calling it Crosses with Rev. And since you're a winger and you're used to whipping a ball in, I thought it'd be fun to have a little game, kind of like a crossing drill. So the goal is essentially for the other person to get on the end of the question, to get on the end of the cross and put it in the back of the net. So let me go over the rules real quick here. 60-second game. We'll play it two ways, right? I have questions for you, and I've asked you to come up with some questions for me. And we just disclaimer, I haven't given these questions in advance, and I haven't seen your questions in advance. So two types of questions that we can ask. It's a either or, and those are worth 1 point. And then there's fill in the blank or finish the sentence, which is worth 3 points. So the goal, answer as many questions as you can. If a question's too tough or you're like, I'm not going there, you can say pass. You lose out on the points for the question, and the person just goes on to the next one. If we finish, if one person finishes before the time runs out, you get 1 extra point for each second, and an additional penalty for any past questions. So, if you pass a bunch of questions and you got 30 seconds left, you take a penalty for the past questions at that point. We'll say winner gets dinner, or maybe you and I can settle on another prize later. But when we're together next, we'll settle up and we'll have a little bit of fun with this. So, You ready for a little bit of a warm-up? I thought I'd give you a couple samples. You know, at your age and my age, we kind of need to warm up with things before we dive in. So, you ready for a little warm-up?
True, yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you 2 questions. Just kind of give a sample and kind of get you ready. It's kind of like the little pregame. So you ready?
Yep.
Man U or Man City?
Man U.
Your favorite band is?
The Killers.
Let's see. There you go. Well, Steve, I've got my questions, and I'm set with my iPhone timer. I've got it count down 60 seconds, and I will start the timer as soon as the first question's read. I've got a tick boxes here that I'll just kind of keep score, keep your answers, and, you've gotten the warm-up. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right. Here we go. Left or right-footed?
Left.
Favorite football club is?
Leicester City.
Martin O'Neill or Gary Smith?
Oh, pass.
Golf or tennis?
Tennis.
Fly rod or spinner?
Spinner.
Plane or train?
Train.
Atlanta United FC or Cincinnati FC?
Pass.
Casey or Cummings?
Pass.
Favorite post-game meal is?
Say that again.
Favorite post-game meal?
Pasta.
Sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Foxes or Wanderers?
Wanderers.
4-4-2 or 4-5-1?
4-4-2.
MLS Cup or Football League Cup?
Football League Cup.
Old Wembley or New Wembley?
Old Wembley.
All right, that's it.
Oh, I should have gone for MLS Cup there, really. That was a bit selfish of me, but there you go.
I didn't get down to my favorite Chaplain is. That could have been controversial.
Yeah, I know.
I was gonna
upset Billy.
So this one I really want to know: Isidro Metapan or FC Dallas?
Ooh, I'm gonna go FC Dallas.
Okay, and just so people know, like that question is, do you want to tell a story on those 2 games?
Well, I mean, Metapan was a Champions League game when we went into deepest, darkest El Salvador, risked our lives for the Rapidos.
You had Carlos with you. He was.
Oh yeah, Carlos forgot the boots. Let's remember. He actually forgot.
One of my
the
favorite
boots
football stories. That's one of my favorite football stories that I was not part of.
That was honestly, I can still see him in my mind's eye walking over to me nervously on the pitch while we're just arrived after a 2-hour coach journey through the jungle to tell me that he'd left the boots in the hotel room. And that was unbelievable. How we managed to get through that, I'll never know. So that was, but Gary Smith didn't take the team on that occasion. He sent me instead. We were like the Dirty Dozen, the film The Dirty Dozen, Mission Impossible, and we managed to grind out a 3-1 win against El Salvadorian champions. So that was a cool moment, and sadly, nowhere near as it was a lot harder. This one, it was the other week with the COVID that Gary couldn't make the Dallas game, so. Myself and Brett took that one, and we managed to get a win for Nashville as well. So that was lovely. So thanks for asking that question. That was very nice.
Yeah. Well, those are kind of those moments, right? When we talk about people getting an opportunity and making the most of their chances, and for an assistant coach, like you kind of have to wait until there's a suspension or a red card or some other strange circumstance or event to kind of get into that place and position to manage. And that's, I think that's always fun. You don't always get those opportunities. And then when things go well, or you overcome a certain challenge or hurdle, or, not only do you have a story to share, but it builds into your character and your person and who you are for the rest of life. So those are fun stories for sure.
No, it was nice. The only thing, sorry, Brad, that Gary, it was the first win for Nashville, in the inaugural season. And Gary had worked so hard, preparing the team. It would have been nice if he could have been taking them for the first game, but wasn't to be. But the important thing was, I guess, that we got that win. So it was nice to be part of that, of course.
Nice, good. Well, given your English heritage as well, here's the other question that I'm dying to ask, and not because I need to know, but probably because my wife would want to know. Downton Abbey or The Crown?
Downton Abbey.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
I'll ask my wife then. What would you rather, Downton Abbey or The Crown? Yeah, she's Downton Abbey as well. Yep. We're both Downton Abbey.
I think so. We most recently watched The Crown, but Downton Abbey felt like it was a little bit longer. The drama, the storytelling was a bit different. Period wise, I think too. Just a little bit of enjoying that part of the period. But my wife, like other American gals I know, are very keen into what goes on with British royalty and some of those thematic, dramatic stories. And so it's kind of fun for us to get on BBC America or Masterpiece Theater and watch some of these English dramas. My wife thinks, maybe we're just doing some homework before we actually settle down over there someday. We'll see. And too, sometimes my wife has been, people have said comments. She would hate me for saying this, and she never listens to the podcast, so I will. So some people have said that she has some features like Meghan Markle. They've said that to me, and of course that makes me proud, of course. But anyway,
wow.
I probably better stop before someone reports this to my wife. Yeah.
Well, I think she should be pleased with that. That's very nice.
Yeah. Great.
And quite right. Quite right too, I might add. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. If I told her, she'd be so embarrassed. So I probably can never relay that to her. But all right. So I'm setting my stuff aside. My hands are on the table. I'm ready to go whenever you are. I know you've got a stopwatch or something at hand. You always seem to have one of those devices close at hand to measure things. But I'm ready whenever you are for your part of Crosses with Rev.
Okay. Well, I'll ask my lovely assistant to help me. Can you put a minute on the stopwatch, please? Let me know when we can start. Count me in, because I've got a lot to get through.
Now, remember, it's just you start the timer once that first question is asked, and then press go. All right.
Right, you don't start until I've finished the first question. All right, so I'm going to go for quite a long question first. Are you ready?
Yeah.
1 minute, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
What mythical creature would improve the world the most?
Oh, my goodness.
It's a tough one, right? Dragon, love it. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Ultimate Frisbee. Game or sport?
Game.
Correct. Butter or marge?
Say that again.
Butter or margarine?
Butter.
Who would you rather be stuck on a desert island with, Gary Smith or Hannibal Lecter?
Hannibal Lecter.
Correct. McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's.
If you were in a movie, who would play you? Drew Moore or Wells Thompson?
Wells Thompson.
Pineapple on a pizza, yes or no?
Say that again.
Pineapple on a pizza, yes or no? To pineapple
yes.
on a pizza. I've beaten you at tennis and golf. What sport could you beat me at next?
Disc golf.
That's it. Time up. I might have gone over a little bit just to come out with the one about me beating you at tennis and golf. So extra time. We'll put that down as extra time. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we gotta add up the scores here. So I've got you
Oh, right. Oh, I think I forgot I was supposed to be keeping score,
8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got you for 15, but with 3 passes. You passed, so -3. So I've got you at 12.
So I got you with sort of 14. How many points for a correct answer or a quick answer?
Yeah, just one point for the either ors, and then 3 points for the long answer, the fill in the blank.
All right.
I'm going to re-go.
No, there was no passes. The Dragon was a good shout. I know that was. I thought that might have thrown you a bit, but I reckon you got just under 20 points there, Brad. I mean, you battered me, to be honest.
All right. Well, that might be some Nashville barbecue when I'm out there next. So
I hear you. I've been owing you a meal for a long time, mate. So no problem. And a carp fishing magazine, obviously waiting for you when you arrive. But that's another story, right?
We need to clear the air on this because not only did you beat me at golf, but let's put the qualifier on here. I had just gotten off the plane, international flight. 2 hours later, you're dragging me through 18 holes of golf. I mean, come on, you got to give me another shot. And then let's talk about the tennis. So the tennis is in the Atlanta heat and humidity. It's 95 degrees out with 110% humidity, and you've been living in this for months. You're used to it. I'm from dry, lovely Colorado, and you just go. You go Patrick McEnroe on me, or I probably, Anyway.
Well, let me just say, in my defence, the golf, I'm pretty sure you'd been in the country for a couple of days before you met me, but I could be wrong. So, that was, and you are actually better than me at golf. It was I just caught you on a weak moment. So maybe I can accept that. But the tennis, come on, an Englishman playing in 100 degrees, honestly. I mean, I'm so pale you can see through me on a clear day. The heat, you never get used to the heat of Atlanta, so you can't have that. And what is it, 6'1", 6'2", was it? I can't remember. It was,
my shoes were sticking to the pavement, and not because I'm fat and slow, but because of the heat and humidity. And I think it was fat and slow too.
It was the fact. I think it was the fact, Brad, that you did kind of build yourself up. I went to bed early. I've made sure I was hydrated. I was expecting a battle royale, and it never quite materialised.
Well, to be fair, I had been on a desert island with Gary Smith, so
yeah, that's true. Although you did pick Hannibal Lecter, so. Sorry, silly question.
I figured I could run faster from Hannibal than I could Gary. So
it'd be a much better demise with Hannibal Lecter than Gary. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's true. It'd be quicker.
Only this. No, I got a bit silly there, Brad. I apologise.
Yeah, well, we know Gary doesn't listen to the podcast.
No,
we're okay.
Yeah, we're
okay. Yeah, we love him. We love him anyway, in spite of things. So, and I'm thankful too. You did not bring up my horrible showing at darts or snooker, and so for that, I'm thankful. But to add insult to injury, we had come off that golf course, and you just go, hey, let's go do this at the pub, and oh man, I was so tired. I think I nearly hit someone with one of the darts.
I took you to my local pub, and thinking that once again, feeding off your information that you were pretty handy at snooker or pool, or and to be honest, we gave such a poor show in me as a partner. I wasn't able to go in that pub ever again. So. In fact, that's one of the main reasons I moved to America shortly afterwards. To take away from the shame of our performance that night.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah. Well, I have a new game for us to play when we get together. It's called Kub. It's a Swedish lawn game. It's Swedish chess, and we will definitely have to go toe to toe or head to head on that one as well. So, that's been a lovely part of our friendship. Well, Steve, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today. It's I love you. It's a joy and privilege to get to spend time with you, and really, look forward to the next time we could be together. And just want to thank you. This has been so much fun and just a great time.
You're more than welcome, Brad. More than welcome.
Yeah. Well, Steve, today I'd like to close the show. I always do this with a brief prayer and a blessing. And so I've kind of adapted and written some of these words, especially with the athlete that plays on the wing. I've written these words kind of with a little adaptation from Isaiah. I've got a little blessing and prayer here. So let me pray. God, you promise to carry your people through difficult places on wings like eagles. You say that those who put their hope in you will soar like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They'll walk and not be faint. At times, this life can feel as though we're merely running the wings of the pitch. We feel that we're constantly on the go, always striving to get forward for an opportunity and seemingly always stretched to get back and defend. How many times could we serve a ball in with no result, no reward? How many runs can we make before fatigue and exhaustion set in? How can we continue? How can we go a full 90 or even 120? Only with you. Only with you. Give us your breath in our lungs. Give us your strength in our legs. Set your hope in our hearts today. Amen.
Amen.
Well, hey, everyone. This is Rev Brad and
Steve Guppy
coming to you from the Touchline.